My name is Ahad Raza, and today I'm here to talk to you about the brand new Black Knight Falcon racket. As you can see, I haven't even opened it up yet. I haven't hit with it yet, and I'm gonna give you a completely honest, unbiased review and feedback on this racket. I'm gonna talk about what I like about it. If there's something I dislike about it, I'll let you know. And I'm gonna tell you who it is intended for. Okay, first things first, Black Knight Falcon, this is the name of the racket. They talk about it having power and control. Its weight is 125 grams, head size is 477 centimeters squared, balance is head heavy, and the stringing profile 14 by 18. So let's take a look at the stringing pattern. The first thing you're gonna see is that the strings here are slightly different to conventional rackets. They have this fan base, so the string is emanating two strands from one of the holes over here, as opposed to just having like a single string coming in and out the way you do in most traditional rackets. Let me give you a side-by-side comparison. So here we have my current racket, and as you can see, there's one string emanating from each of the holes at the bottom. Compared to this one here, you can see that two are coming out. So this stringing pattern that the Falcon is using is supposed to give you more ball control. Now, I'm gonna test that in a minute. The grip it's an oval shaped grip. So some people have preferences for grips being more circular, some being more rectangular. This is a nice oval shaped grip. I like the way it feels in my hand personally. I actually really like the color scheme over here. So they have a nice yellow going all around. And right here, the little grommets are also yellow, which is cool. And obviously it lines up well with the Falcon name and logo. The racket itself feels honestly pretty evenly balanced to me. I know it's head heavy, but I don't necessarily feel a ton of weight in the head, personally speaking. But when we hit the ball, we'll kind of get a sense of how heavy this head really is. Because generally speaking, a heavier head means you're gonna get a little bit more weight through your stroke, so hitting length will become a little bit easier. A lighter head allows the racket to feel more kind of wandy, so you can volley really effectively and have that high racket head speed. Traditionally, my personal experience was when rackets became lighter, even like a 125 or a 120, I found that they became too light to the point where you couldn't find your weight of stroke when it came to length hitting. So if you add a little bit of weight to the head while maintaining an overall lighter frame, you can still generate depth and weight in your strokes. Oh, one other really interesting thing about this racket is that it doesn't have a bumper guard. So it's been designed slightly differently, which will allow you to actually get your frame closer to the sidewall when you're scraping off the sidewall, and thus create and have a little bit more accuracy when you're trying to scrape the ball off. So again, for comparative purposes, if you look at this racket here, the bumper guard just adds a little bit more space on top of the racket. So you can actually see that this white bumper guard is just sticking out on top, which now if you put it beside the side wall, you can see you're gonna get far more string on the ball when you are trying to scrape it off the side wall, as we would be in this situation. Whereas with my existing racket, you have more space between the strings and the side wall. So this is one advantage of being able to scrape the ball off a little bit more effectively from the side wall with this new enhanced design without a bumper guard. Are you ready? Here's the first feel. Ball is brand new, ball is cold. I'm giving this a real shot. Well, I actually quite like this. It's got a nice pop off the racket. It's gonna hit a few volleys, give you my honest opinion here. I do find if you don't center the ball, it doesn't feel quite as crisp, so it's not quite as forgiving as, say, my other racket is with the teardrop shape. Let's put in a few volley drops and see how they feel. I think this racket it actually feels quite nice. You do have to center the ball quite well, and I find if I try to come in with a slow racket head speed, I'm not quite as sharp with the hitting. Whereas if I come in with a quicker racket head through the ball, I find that I have a little bit more crispness through the shot, like so. So I think you need to probably use a pretty quick racket head speed with this frame in order to be able to execute effectively as I was there. Let's try a couple off the bounce. Again, fast racket head speed, ball goes in quite nicely. Slower it just kind of sits up. It's not quite as crisp. So I think fast racket head speed is probably the way to go. Let's give a quick little demo with length and see how that feels. That was a nice crisp first shot. I do quite like the feel, keeping in mind the fast racket head speed. Oh, the scrape actually feels better. These courts, so this is more of a traditional wall. These courts are quite sticky. The ball gets stuck to the wall. And when I scraped it off there, it actually felt easier than with my existing racket. Okay, I quite like this. I'm gonna put in a quick boast and see what happens and how the ball travels. Oh, that was sharp. Okay, I might be sold on this frame, to be honest. I'm gonna play with it a little bit and I'm gonna give you a little bit of follow-up feedback. But all in all, my opinion is that you need to be a reasonably advanced player. You don't have to be a pro, but you do want to be on the at least intermediate side of things, so you have some consistency over where you're making contact with the ball. If you're currently hitting the ball all over the place, you're gonna find that this racket is not as forgiving. The other thing, like I said, a feature of it, no bumper guard, means it's gonna be easier to scrape the ball because you're gonna get more strings. If you just think about this, for example, if the ball is glued to the sidewall right now, I can still get string on the ball when I'm hitting. When you have a larger bumper guard, you're kind of hitting the ball like this, so it becomes more frame than string. So that's a big advantage of this. Again, it says head heavy, but it doesn't necessarily feel that head heavy. And I feel like I can still use a fair bit of racket head speed to come through with this racket, and volleying is not going to be too much of a problem. I personally like the design. I like the way the grip feels in my hand, and all in all, it actually feels like quite a good racket. So if you are intermediate to advanced, you can generally hit the ball in a somewhat consistent zone on the racket face. If you have fast racket head speed, if you feel like you like to volley, you like to put cut on the ball with quick racket head speed, I think you're really, really gonna like this racket. I've tested this out for a few minutes now. You do have to be quite accurate with your target. If you're off center, the ball, it doesn't generate that much pace the way you might get away with it with another frame. All in all, I feel like you're able to somewhat consistently hit the sweet spot. If you want some power, you want some racket head speed, you want some control. On occasion, I'm not used to it yet obviously, but on occasion it feels beautiful. Putting in quick little boasts, putting in quick drops, phenomenal. Every now and then, I'm used to having a little bit more power on my frame, so I try to use my fingers and my hands just a little bit more. I find that those do not work well with this, so I have to get that skill down with this racket first. If you are an intermediate to advanced level player, the touch, the feel, the ball control, phenomenal. Just keep in mind, if you hit outside the sweet spot, you're gonna be in trouble. Folks, take care, get the racket, and I'll see you soon. Bye.